All right, guys, welcome. What I want to talk about today is, of course, inscriptions all over the webs, all over every chain. We've got inscriptions coming in. Of course, that started with none other than Bitcoin Ordinals Inscriptions. Of course, we moved into BRC-20s in March of 2023. But essentially, 1 year ago, roughly a year and a week ago, inscriptions went live. Ordinals went live on Bitcoin, and there's so much to talk about. So why not dive in? So what I want to do is talk about what's happening in 2023 and why the word exponent is so powerful. All right. Exponential growth, exponential returns, far greater than pretty much any other asset or any other protocol from any chain, any ecosystem, any token standard, you can name it. BRC-20s have essentially been delivering that. Now, of course, we have TRC-20s and we've got CBRC-20s and STX 20s. I mean, there's a lot of, inscriptions happening on Avalanche, inscriptions happening over here, ETH inscriptions. That's been happening for quite a while now. Look, the reason why we're getting into this today is because it seems like a lot of people may misunderstand the idea of why the word exponent is so powerful and why fair mints and essentially fair launches can essentially beat out any token sale, any airdrop, all right? So with Bitcoin Ordinals and BRC-20s and the like, we've seen incredible multiples, exponential returns that are different with essentially fair launches and fair mints, okay? We're going to dive into a couple right over here. But essentially the best blockchain experience, starting with Bitcoin, involved no price. Essentially, Bitcoin is and was always able to be mined by anybody. Right? So consider that coins or tokens can be distributed as rewards or claimed with a transaction fee alone. They don't necessarily have to be sold, right? This gives the community the opportunity to set the value on secondary markets. So people like you and I get to decide how much we sell something for, and we get to decide the value. If we're early and there's a limited supply, I think the value is going to be set a little higher. Right? Let's look at it like that, right? So it gives the community, again, like I said, a chance to set levels and set the value. We create the value ourselves, right? It is also a way to minimize centralization of supply. And we all know that this is a concern with pretty much every crypto, every blockchain, all the narratives. We were still looking at less centralization as being a positive, right? Let's look at some examples of fair mint tokens right here on Unisat, for example, and I'll give you a couple of ideas, right? Essentially, most, if not all of these that you're seeing right now were fair mint, simply meaning you could come, connect your wallet, and you could mint. In this case, you could mint 100 million from the total supply, and all you had to do was pay the transaction fee. This did not require anybody to pay a single dollar based on the amount that the deployer of sats created or determined. We simply pay the transaction fee, of course, to the Bitcoin node operators, to the network as a networking fee in exchange for the tokens, okay? Which, again, we set the value on. Now, as you can see, this was deployed well back in March. One of the first tickers, sats, was deployed well back in March, okay? If we go to trade, for example, you could have gotten your share, in this case, 100 million tokens, right? As you can see, limit per mint was 100 million. You could have gotten your share and essentially made a sale for whatever level you want. So if you look here, this person's essentially selling 4 mints, which one mint was 100 million. They're selling 4 times that amount for $265. Now, that is today. What is that going to be in a year or half a year from now, 2 years from now? Right? The price of this is likely going to go up if sats remains something that is commonly spoken and utilized within the Bitcoin ecosystem. And I would honestly say yes, right? So the returns are created, essentially the values made by us, and the returns can be as little or as much as we want them to be. Let's quickly look over here at CryptoSlam and just take a look at some of the top movers in terms of sales volume over the past 30 days. And of course, we're going to see sats, fair mint, okay? Rats, fair mint. Mice, fair mint. A lot of these Bitcoin frogs, I mean, a lot of these were fair mint. You simply had to be there and execute a trade, essentially a transaction to receive your rewards. And those rewards in this case were specifically, we're talking about BRC-20s. Of course, ORDI is the number one. Everybody knows ORDI is the number one. We've seen ORDI on many different charts, and including places like CoinGecko, where you can simply just look for ORDI yourself and you'll find ORDI right there. We can't make this stuff up. There was once upon a time ORDI meant nothing. So my prediction, if I could say, is that ORDI right now with this $1 billion market cap is essentially going to flip a lot of the top blockchain tokens out there. This is currently ranked number 65. And guess what? It's a BRC-20 token that was absolutely free to mint. Maybe it costed $1, maybe it costed 50 cents, maybe it costed $2, maybe even $5. But looking at what it would cost to get a 1,000 ORDI when it went live on the 7th of March, then for 1,000 ORDI, we can go and see that even one right now, 42 ORDI is going for $2,000. Okay? This is what I'm talking about, exponential returns. There is no value set by the deployer of free mint tokens. The value is set based on the amount of participation that goes in, and of course, what users decide to sell their assets for. Now, it's obvious that we are in an altcoin season, right? We're getting there close enough, right? We can look at this. Once we're in the red, we're in more of a Bitcoin season. And as we progress more to the black area, it's a little more neutral somewhere in there. But once we get to the yellow, or pardon me, to the green, you know that we're definitely more and more into an altcoin season. Now, I think the reason why we're seeing so much of this mid area, this dark black area, grayish area being represented is because there's so much value being exchanged on Bitcoin. So regardless of whether the price of Bitcoin goes up or down or sideways, it doesn't really matter. When there are so many markets on Bitcoin right now, so many markets, we're talking about layer twos of Bitcoin for Bitcoin DeFi. Of course, we're talking about BRC-20s and Ordinals, right? Let's take a quick look at some of the Ordinals collections. Like, for example, the Goosenos. They're currently going for 0.35, let's just say 0.035, maybe 0.037 realistically for one Gooseno. But if we quickly go back to BTC and we just quickly check the price of that right now, that's $1,500 USD for something that was a fair mint. This is why we say exponential. This is where the returns come in the greatest way. There is no token sale. There is no centralization of holdings of total supply. You get in if you're early enough and you're good. Let's take a look at one quick other example, one that a lot of people are excited about. And maybe that's, let's say Track, okay? Track is a great example of one, again, that was fair mint. This one came and went. I believe this may have minted out in the exact same day it went live. But 1,000 is what you could get per mint for your 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 USD worth of BTC at the time. Well, currently 1,000 is being sold for $6,000. Again, this was one transaction that costed a few dollars, now valued by the individuals, by the customer, by you, yourself, and myself at $6,000 for something that once costed $5. Now, I'm not saying that you cannot get such returns from other cryptos. Of course you can. I strongly believe so. There are many cryptos out here that we enjoy for various reasons. A lot of the technology is great. We like the ease of use, the accessibility, and all sorts of things. But fair mints are typically, essentially, almost virtually always going to have an incredible exponential return probability, right? So many of us are used to paying for tokens and maybe even receiving airdrops or of pre-minted supplies, right? Fair mint and fair launch projects, particularly within inscriptions on Bitcoin and perhaps even other blockchains like Stacks, Avalanche, as I mentioned, Tron as well, getting into it, and others, of course, Ethereum and such. This allows for exponential returns, right? These exponential returns that are unlike any other. So it's hard for some, I would say, to break away from the mindset of token sales, which is completely fine. It's understandable. It's a bit of a new, dare I say, it's a new age, right? So guys, head over to something like Alex Lab, check out their BRC-20 order book. There are tons of tokens available here that you can trade directly. Pretty simple, pegged against the SUSDT. So that's the Stacks USDT. So, dollar stablecoin liquidity is flowing. And if you're looking for stablecoin liquidity on Bitcoin, you're definitely currently looking at something like Alex. And coming down the line very soon, we're going to look at something like maybe Bitflow or perhaps Zest Protocol or Arcadico, things like that. These are some DeFi plays that you guys may want to consider. So guys, I would say, look, follow me over here on X, why not? And of course, join me in Telegram, join me in Discord, because this is where I've been dropping some alpha, a lot of calls, a lot of plays that I think everybody, yourselves, myself, self can take part in. And again, I'm sticking with the free mints, fair launches. Those are always the best. There's no centralization. If you keep your finger on the pulse, then you'll be there with even just a few dollars worth of BTC. In this case, there are other blockchains, but I'm specifically speaking more or less about BTC. You'll be there with a few bucks worth of BTC, minting something, and essentially getting rewarded in the end for your participation and just for being early. So look, I appreciate you guys so much. All the best to you. Give the video a like if you like it. Share it with somebody who could use the information. And like I said, interact with some of those links down below, because I think there is something incredible in this for all of us, if I have to say. All right, so why not watch this video on fair launch cryptos, and I will check you guys in the next one.